I'm trying it on a different setup this week. So, anyways.
Yeah.
Hey, welcome everybody into the show, the W Sports Podcast. Week 2 is live with Jimothy. Are you still going with Tubby this week? Or are you going?
Yeah, of course, Tubby.
Okay, I'm still Jimothy this week, so we'll see what happens. So
I thought of a good one. It
Okay.
might be a pretty good one.
Okay.
Ready for this? So, you're a big baseball fan. What about Web Gym?
Oh, that's not bad. Stephanie, where did she go? I was going to ask her. She may have mentioned that one too.
Yeah, I thought of that. I was like, that's not too bad.
Yeah, I like it. Okay, I'm okay with it. I'll keep that in mind. This is the type of podcast that we're going to go ahead and absolutely change things up at any time. Why not?
Yeah. Nothing has to be set in stone. I mean, come on.
I know, yeah. Why not? Have some fun with it. But can you hear the music, by the way?
No, I cannot.
There's no music. I was hoping it would work. Let me see if that's saved. Dude, I was just messing around with this thing. This thing is cool. So, anyway. I had it. Can you hear it if I do this? Let me see.
No.
No, I can hear it. That's weird. That's lame. That's too bad. Okay, we'll have to see if it makes it into the show when it actually goes on YouTube. So, we'll see.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. So, that's just change number 1, right? We might have possible new nicknames. The other thing is, everybody watch this. Boom. We have multi-angle. This feels like ESPN right now. I'm telling you right now, this looks like ESPN.
Got someone you're going, hey, all right, camera 2 now.
Yeah, that's what we need is a producer in the back to just be like doing that. Like, hey, you got to do this real quick. So that would be great. Well, so far, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. If you are just now, for the first time, you stumbled in on the podcast, this is the W Podcast. We're a very good sports podcast. Thank you for joining us. If you have a question, feel free to drop that into the chat. That's what we're going to do. Maybe it's about sports, fantasy sports. If you're like me and you're absolutely bitter about a fantasy football loss this weekend, I'm just going to say it. I'm going to pull it up real quick. Devin, you probably still feeling pretty good, right? Didn't you win?
I would have had a bye.
Oh, yeah. So, oh, God, rough time to be Devin. I had a bye week. So.
Oh, I know. And it was a great time to have a bye.
It was because, still injuries, all that stuff. So this is a team that I want you all to know is a first-round exit in the playoffs. Alvin Kamara, Ezekiel Elliott, Devontae Adams, DK Metcalf, Travis Kelce, Juju Smith-Schuster, DeAndre Swift, Michael Pittman, Kenneth Walker, Brian Robinson, and a backup tight end. Who needs a backup? Well, it's Dalton Schultz. Why not? So no move's good. And then Justin Fields, Deontay Foreman. That team right there, that's first-round bye. Or a loss, not a bye.
Nope. Yeah.
So
I was, and see the crazy thing is that if you would have played him this coming week, you probably would have won because Jalen Hurts more than likely is not playing this week.
Oh, so that brings up to my next point. In my other league where I did have a bye, guess who my quarterback is?
Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, guess who my backup is? I don't got one. Who needs a backup QB when you have Jalen Hurts? So I need you to tell me stuff. Yeah, so if you're listening to the chat, if you have one, I want to know what was your disaster story for this week. And so my options right now are Matt Ryan, Andy Dalton, Ryan Tannehill, Mac Jones. Oh, we'll get to him here in a little bit. Jared Goff. Actually, that may not be bad.
That might not. Yeah.
Tyler Huntley, who's averaging, I think, 3 yards per pass attempt right now. Down 3 air yards per pass attempt. That's terrible. So it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good.
I mean, it sounds like a pretty solid game plan. I mean,
I'm not
get
happy,
a first round bye, then boom.
Yes,
Jalen Hurts.
Second in scoring, and here we are with a bunch of garbage. So, yeah. So before we jump into the actual podcast stuff, our producer said, "Hey, did you set up? What was it?
It's microphone.
Your mic
As the computer's input.
As the computer input. Do you know what that means? Because I don't know.
Like in the sound settings.
In the sound settings of your
computer, not Audacity.
Of your computer, not Audacity, or your phone, whatever you're using.
So I don't know.
I need you to come over here and say it.
Okay.
I don't. Yep. No, I'm lost.
Here we go. Here's our producer.
So
Can you hear it?
in the sound settings on your actual device that you're on the live stream with, you'll need to set your interface box that the microphone's plugged into as your input.
Yeah, but how? That doesn't say anything.
I don't know what device he's on.
Are you on a phone or a laptop?
I'm on my phone.
His phone.
Oh, okay.
So don't worry about it.
Might not be able to do it.
Yeah, so don't worry about it. We're good. Easy enough. All right. Yeah, so if you're like, oh, why is Devin sound a little different than normal? Hey, that's okay. Just download the podcast and it'll sound like normal. We're figuring things out, okay?
Yeah, no, I'm not technically savvy, so yeah.
That's all right. But the good news is we are tech savvy here at the W Podcast because, as you know, if I get angry enough, I'm going to be like looking over here at this one. I can't do that too many times. Stephanie might get upset. I don't think she'll get upset. She'll be like, you got to calm down. All right. So anyway, so I have an idea. So I can't really record next Monday. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh, yeah, no,
the
that
day
makes
after Christmas, some travel. So
yeah.
But I didn't really have planned. I don't know. We didn't have planned to talk about the college football playoff today. So here's what my thought is on the 28th, while Stephanie's at work, I'll have a little bit of time that we can go ahead and do a podcast that will release the next day. I can record, edit, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. What do you think if we record the 28th and I'll release it right before the playoff game happens?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And it's specific only to that. Like, that's the one that you do.
Yeah. Nope. We're good.
I'm on. Okay. Sweet. So, hey, so if you're here in the chat, then now you know there is a special podcast next week. So it won't be released the day after Christmas. I know. So if you're traveling, I know whenever we travel, that's the thing. If Stephanie falls asleep, it's sports podcast. That's the thing. If she's awake, it's usually a different podcast or music for a little while until she's like, hey, let's try a podcast. But really isn't a sports podcast. I get that. That makes sense. My sport podcasts aren't fun. Sports podcast? Is it sport podcast or is it sports podcast?
I would think sports because you're talking about multiple sports usually.
Okay. We are. That's right.
I mean, that would be my thinking.
What sports are we talking about?
You know, we got a little bit of college, maybe a little bit of college football. There's a few things that we could probably hit on. NFL, and we had some more signings in baseball.
We did, and there's one of them. I was listening to a different one of my sports podcasts, and they were talking about the Correa deal, and we'll get into that more. But they said that it was unfortunate that by the time his deal is done, the dude will be 50. So it made me think the podcaster, and so it made me think, dude, how old will I? Oh my God, I'll almost be 40. I'll be 43, and I'm like, that's disgusting. There's no way. There's no way he's gonna work out that podcast or that contract. So, yeah.
But I mean, hey, take it. Why not?
I know. Yeah.
You're him. Yeah. I was a little surprised the average was as low as it was.
Yeah, I think he wanted. It's the same thing that Bryce Harper did. And, we could talk about it also on the podcast. But like, he wanted the years. He wanted to be able to play as long as he possibly could. And so that's why he said, "Hey, we're going to go 13." And I don't know why 13 is that big number, but that's literally the same as Harper. So
yeah, no, I don't know.
Yeah, because what I love is they're literally, because of this year with four shortstops altogether. Yeah, Turner, Swanson, Bogarts, and obviously Correa. Like, you're going to be able to compare and contrast like which one was the worst and which one has the best potential to succeed. I think it's not even close. Turner's going to be the best one of all of them.
Yeah, and the fact that some people were trying to argue that Correa should get more money and was better than Trey Turner, y'all are kidding yourselves. I mean, the guy's had a couple decent years, but man, the offensive numbers for what everyone thought it was going to happen, he's going to be this big, power shortstop and, incredible glove. Well, the glove, it's dropped off the last couple of years. He's nowhere near what everyone thought he was going to be. And Trey Turner, by far, was the best shortstop in this class, and it's not even close.
Oh, yeah, and top 3 MVP candidate in most cases, especially if Goldie doesn't have the year that he had almost all year long. So, I mean, to me, I don't even think it should count. How many times has he played 60, let's say, over 75% of the games or 70% of the games? Let's say that.
Carlos Correa?
Yeah. Ooh. And he's played 8 years.
Was it 8 years?
Including his rookie year, which in his rookie year, he had a good time. It wasn't like he was September only.
Let's see. I know there was a good stretch where he was hurt for at least 2 or 3 seasons. I know he got hurt last year, but I don't think he missed it as much as I thought he did. So I'm going to say 5.
5 times. And what were we going to say? Over 125 games?
Sure.
Roughly, I mean that's 75%.
Yeah.
Let's do the math.
See,
I don't want to steal our listeners wrong. Actually, these are our viewers. This is not viewers. It's not just listeners. So let me see here. We said, okay, what is 125 by 162? Oh yeah, that's 125 is. Did I freeze?
No.
Okay, good. So 125 is 77%. So we'll say 120. That's a good number. So you said how many? 5?
5. Yeah.
So he has gone 153 in his second year. He went 148 last year and 136 this year. We're going to go ahead and give him 2020. He had 58 at 60. There's a good chance he doesn't.
Yeah.
So the answer to your question is
4.
3. 4, I guess, if you count
4 if you count
4.
20. Yeah. I mean, yeah. So
out of 8,
out of half your seasons.
So now I'm asking you, will he get 7 in 13 as he gets older?
No, not as he gets older. And I know people are like, oh well, he's gotten more healthy as he's gotten older. I'm like, yeah, that's not usually the way it works. He may have played, a decent amount of games the last couple of years, 140, 130. Yeah, but that's gonna continue. That's gonna decline because as you get older, your body breaks down.
Yeah. Let me get out of that right there.
Yeah, you froze.
How about now? Am I still frozen?
Yeah.
Dadgummit. Can you hear me though? It sounds like you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I don't know why it's doing that. Oh, let me check and see something real quick. It's a good thing I hadn't recorded yet. That would have been fun. I mean, we are live, so this is always fun.
Yeah. I mean, last week though, on my side, you were, glitchy and stuff like that. But when you watch the video, it was fine. So it just may be something a little wonky with the recording.
I think it's the connection on our side. So we'll see.
Huh. Oh, there you go. You're unfroze.
I'm unfroze. Am I refroze or unfroze?
Yeah, unfroze.
Oh, good. There we go. Okay. Well, cool. So I think today, what do you think? We jump into a lot of NFL stuff.
Yeah.
Mostly. I mean, I don't know if you know this. I'm repping the Kansas City Royals hat today because they've done absolutely nothing in the offseason. And I thought, hey, let's go ahead and rep them because no one else is talking about them because they're not doing anything.
Yeah, it sounds about normal, though.
Dude, it's pathetic. It's really sad so far. So, cool.
I didn't expect him to do really anything anyways. Maybe sign a vet towards the end, before spring training, kind of like they did last year with Carlos Santana, and then trade him at trade deadline.
They've done absolutely nothing. No trades, nothing. And maybe they'll trade, Taylor or Alberto Mondesi.
They agreed to something, either arbitration or something extension. Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember exactly what it was. It wasn't anything like, oh wow, that it was just something simple that I was kind of surprised that they were keeping him around and didn't trade him or anything.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. All right, so we'll jump in the podcast. Do some of that. Do you anything you want to talk about before we start? Like any hot topics you want to?
Yeah, we got to talk about the slander on Jalen Hurts that's going around right now.
Cool.
It's not okay.
Okay, sounds good. If you want, let's hold because I have a Coach Swagger thing that we'll talk about. But I have some stuff I think we can say that for next recording. If you're okay with that, same thing with the Oklahoma and the Texas stuff as we get closer to that bowl season.
Oh yeah, by the time we do like the college football playoffs and stuff like that, do that one next week. We'll have signing day already happening.
I know.
Already happened.
Dude,
early signing period. Things are looking for up for Oklahoma right now.
They are, and the bowl percentage for the last 2 seasons. Did you see that graphic that went up coming into bowl season this year?
Huh.
And now it makes me feel really stupid for picking Washington State. Big 12 is number 1 with an 8.33 win percentage in bowl games, specifically over the last 2 years. Can you guess the second best conference?
And this is like all the conferences, like even like this, the WAC and like West, Mountain West, stuff like. I'm gonna say it's gonna be something obscure. The MAC.
No, the MAC is 500 though. They are right in the middle of
Okay.
the pack. So that was a good guess, and you were on the right path with obscure. So it's a trick question. There's two of them tied at 778 win percentage. It's the Mountain West
Mountain West.
and the Sun Belt, which I think makes sense. So
Yeah.
when I was talking with Stephanie about the brackets or the picking games, she was like, "Where
Mhm.
they at?" She's like, "Where are they from?" Like, are they Ohio? Or are they, the South? And stuff like that. And if it was one of those obscure teams in the MAC, or if they were in the Sun Belt, she was picking the Sun Belt every time. She's like, "No, they play football different. I don't
That's
care if they're
funny.
not SEC." Dead last. Pac-12.
That makes sense.
What's their win percentage?
34.
0.
0.
No, I'm not kidding. And it would still be right now if it wasn't for Oregon State playing a terrible Florida team. We're going to get into it. Let's start the podcast.
That's hilarious.
I feel like it's great. We're going to start the podcast because once we get to – we're going to get to some draft. And I'm going to mention them at the start of the podcast here in a second once we hit go. But
right.
There is – I think, yeah, we're about to have an epic week. So you feel right? You ready? You ready?
Yep, we're ready.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back, everyone, to the W Podcast. Jimothy here with Tubby. Welcome back, man.
Hey, it's good to be back. I just want to let all the listeners know that I love this so much that we're recording right now during the Packers game. So it shows how much I love you guys and how much I just like doing this. I'm willing to record during a Packers game. Just know that.
The dude is decked out in Packers gear. So you don't, and there's no way for you to like stream the game as you're recording, right? Like there's not the ability in there.
So I've got my TV on and my door open, and I can see the TV every once in a while.
That's a real fan. Every once in a while?
I have to look to the side. So if you see me look to the side, I'm looking at the score.
How about this? You can just like give me the signal, and then I'll monologue for a second so you can tell them to check it. All right, now we're good. I can do that. That's no problem. Yeah. All right. So we're back as week 2 of the podcast being live, and there's already 15 minutes of pre-roll content that y'all missed out on if you weren't watching the YouTube. So make sure you go over to YouTube, which is at w.sports.podcast. Where are all the dots in sport? Just, you know what? Just search the W Sports Podcast. You'll find it. YouTube.
Yeah.
That's where it's at. But subscribe to it because it's a lot of fun, and you can put questions in the chat. I already talked about how devastated I am with my fantasy league. And the one that I had the first round by, it's a devastation as well with Jalen Hurts with a shoulder injury on a short week. These Saturday games are ridiculous.
And the thing is like you didn't hear nothing about it during the game, and
no, he kept playing.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden it was like maybe 2 hours ago it was like, oh, Jalen Hurts probably isn't playing, or there's a realistic chance that he doesn't play this week against the Cowboys. I'm like, that dude's tough. Then I mean, if he was that hurt, so hurt that he may not play this coming week during that game, that's a tough dude.
Oh yeah. No, and he led the team in rushing attempts too. And I guess we're just jumping in on Jalen Hurts here. Here we go. He led the team in rushing attempts. I think he had 3 touchdowns. They're all rushing touchdowns, weren't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like, oh my gosh, the dude is getting hammered.
Yeah, I mean, he had a lot of passing yards, but he had 2 interceptions. But he made up for it on the ground. Something a lot of quarterbacks aren't able to do. I mean, you got 3 rushing touchdowns, lead your team in rushing attempts. Yeah, it's not the most ideal thing, but he knows that, okay, if this ain't working, I can do this, because arguably his best asset is his legs.
Yeah, when he's a tough player, and so is he the MVP? Earlier, the first half of the season was all Patrick Mahomes. And I think the last couple of weeks we've seen that kind of die down a little bit as he's struggled with some really bad talent, and that's just turnovers, things like that, and execution. While Jalen Hurts has continued to, after that loss, rebound, and the Eagles have just continued on like, oh yeah, this is nothing. We're gonna walk to the NFC Championship game at this point, is what it looks like. Yeah,
that's what it seems like. I mean, the thing is, you look at the rest of the teams in the NFC, like the Cowboys and the 49ers, and the 49ers are playing better lately, or the Buccaneers. These teams, they're struggling against bad teams.
Yes.
And besides this week where the Eagles struggled with the Bears, the Eagles are just blowing everyone out against bad teams, against good teams. And to me, that's what is the biggest, distance between everyone in the NFC and then the Eagles. The Eagles are just, they're playing good against everyone except for one game. And I'm not going to hold one game against you because it's one game. That, that could happen any point, but
yeah. Please don't hold that against them because the Chiefs, you could hold a lot. And we'll get to the Chiefs in a little bit with the last couple of games. Oh, man. And I will say, yeah, they did struggle a little bit with the Bears to put them away. But at no point was this game really like, did I not feel like they were in control? If we'll put
yeah.
So there's a difference between putting a team away and then just absolutely just being in control without putting the team away. And that's what this felt like. That's classic OU stuff, by the way. We'll never cut their throats. Dude, so for the record, side note, I did rewatch on YouTube because my heart just needed to be torn out of my chest at some point this week when I was not feeling well. And I thought, let's just make it worse. And I watched a video. It was all of the best like college football playoff games since it started. And one of them was OU Georgia. And I rewatched this game. And I'm telling you, it's watching that and be like, oh, you should have won this game. There's no reason OU does not win this game.
There was one reason.
I mean, there's no reason.
His name is Lincoln Riley.
Yeah, there's no real reason they shouldn't have won that game. Absolutely insane. But that was the same thing. It was just the Eagles, at least 13-1, 7-0 at home. And guess what? It doesn't matter if you play them at home on the road; they're going to be at home the whole time. It seems like throughout the playoffs. But they're going to have time to rest up. Yeah,
that's the thing. I mean, there's no point in playing Jalen Hurts this week because, I mean, really, you would have to lose out. The Cowboys would have to win out for you not to get the number 1 seed, or at least lose to the division. And there's just one thing that it's been gnawing at me the last few days. Is the fact that you've got guys like Chris Sims talking so bad about Jalen Hurts. What all Jalen Hurts has done this year. Everyone at the beginning of the season was like, oh, the Eagles, do they have a quarterback? Maybe, there's a reason why they got that pick from the Saints in the draft. And that way, maybe if Jalen Hurts doesn't play good, that they can take a quarterback in this draft. But for him to say that, guys, I mean, it's nothing against Mahomes and Burrow and Allen, but say, oh, well, he's not as valuable as them. And if you put Gardner Minshew in on that team, they're just as good as they are now.
No, they're not.
And then Micah Parsons said the same thing. And part of me is like, yeah, it's probably just, rivalry thing, try to throw shade or whatever. But then again, he was adamant and serious. It wasn't, to me like, oh, he's just trying to poke fun. And you really think that Gardner Minshew would be able to take that team to a 1 loss and be able to put up the numbers he's putting up and keep this team relevant? There's a reason why the Jaguars moved on from him and drafted a quarterback.
Yeah, who's having a pretty great sophomore season when you look at it. And so, yes, absolutely. The hate has to stop on Jalen Hurts. And if they go 16-1, 16-1 with 17 games, and he continues to do what he does, gets the number 1 seed, I think maybe you should definitely have a legitimate case to be the best candidate for MVP. And I'm a KC fan. And I love Patrick Mahomes. But the way he's played the last couple of weeks compared to the way Jalen Hurts has continued down the tough stretch, the cold months, the bad weather, we all hurt out here, and he's still out here playing. And nothing against Patrick Mahomes. I think he's great. I'm just saying MVP right now, you could make a case for either of these guys, coin flip, and I'm happy with either answer. Really am.
Yeah. I think that Jalen, I wouldn't say pulled away, but I think he's kind of edged Mahomes out just a little bit. And part of it's the fact that Mahomes hasn't played as great against the Broncos and didn't really play as good this week against the 1-loss Texans.
Yeah,
the 1-win Texans.
We're going to jump into that then because that was so frustrating. So I was working whenever the game started. It was a noon game for us in the Central Time Zone, and that you look at that on paper. Going into the game, you look at that on paper. This is a watch. Why are we doing this? We don't even need to play this game. Then you actually play the game. Jeff Driscoll throws 4 passes. Whatever. Patrick Mahomes, 36 of 41. All right, so he was completing the ball. I don't know if you knew this. So Travis Kelce, 10 catches. How many targets did he have?
10.
Juju Smith-Schuster, 10 catches on how many targets, Devin?
11.
10. Jerick McKinnon, 8 catches on?
8.
Yep. Noah Gray, 3 for 3. MVS, 3 or 5. Yeah, there you go. So that was it. But literally, that never happens except in video games when you put it on rookie. I won. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I'm rookie.
I threw for 700 yards and 10 touchdowns. Of course I won.
So you have all that. They were throwing the ball like crazy, almost 10 yards per attempt. It was doing a great job moving the ball. No picks. Okay, no picks. Yeah. Then they ran the ball 33 times for 189 yards and 2 touchdowns. All right. So Juju had the fumble that lost. Stupid Isaiah Pacheco lost the fumble too. Pat had one, but he recovered it. So that's the whole reason why. The 2 turnovers with 14 points off of them is why the Texans were in the game. There's absolutely no reason. You look at Davis Mills and the team passing was not good. Not 50% completion percentage. They didn't have Pierce's out the rest of the year on IR, right? So 28 times for 90. How? There's no way this game should have been that close. Thankfully, the Chiefs won.
Yeah. You look at the numbers and like the Chiefs, they have like 500 yards to the 200 and some yards for the Texans. Time of possession, Chiefs had 10 more minutes. Time of possession. There's a few like stats, like they lost turnover battle, but I mean you're the Chiefs. Even if you lose turnover battle, you should win. And then the penalties, you had a few more penalty yards, or quite a few more penalty yards actually, and those factors there. But you look at the rest of it, and you're like, how did this game go to overtime? And how was it that close? And like you said, it's those 2 fumbles. I mean, happened inopportune times for the Chiefs, and the Texans were able to capitalize on them.
Yeah, and the game shouldn't have gone to overtime. They missed a field goal with like 2 seconds left or something like that. And here's what I love. I know they missed a field goal, which is super frustrating. I always hate that. But what I do love is that the Chiefs got the ball back after the Texans scored their field goal after being held to a field goal. I remember right. And then they with like just under about 4 minutes left. And here's what championship teams do. They take that 4 minutes and they set a team that people look at the Chiefs where they're like, oh, they can't run the ball. And they're like, no. We're going to – this is our clock. You ain't getting the ball back. And if you are, it's with 1 second. Not 13, 1 second. And so that's what happened. So, he missed the kick, which is super frustrating. They did get the ball, and they scored the touchdown, which Jerick McKinnon had a great day. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. But did Butker miss an extra point in that game also?
Probably. I didn't see
I'm pretty sure he missed an extra point at one.
He's had a bad year.
Yeah. I mean, injuries has taken a little bit of toll on him through a decent part of the season, but he hasn't kicked the ball as consistent as he normally is.
Yeah. So you had that, and you had the Broncos. Should you be worried at all if you're a Chiefs fan? I'm a biased person, so I can't answer this question yet.
I mean, you've got Patrick Mahomes, so I wouldn't be too worried. Maybe a 3. Just because you have had a couple game stretch where you've had some tough turnovers. Mahomes had 3 turnovers last week. He had 2 turnovers this week. The turnovers aside, if you can eliminate those, Chiefs, you're probably running away with both those games. So I'm not too worried about it. I do think, like I said, Mahomes has to be better with the ball. He didn't have any turnovers this week. He did have the fumble, but he got it back. But it seems like the last couple of games he's kind of force a bit, more than he may be. I mean,
he's like, bro, I'm bored.
I mean, the stretch he was on at the beginning of the season, and just no one could stop him. I mean, we've seen the no look, just flick over the shoulder, for a touchdown. So maybe he's just trying some new things just to make us say, wow, a few more times before the playoffs start, and he really just buckles down.
Well, then you better be able to dial it in. Because obviously there are other teams out there. We already talked about the Eagles, but you mentioned, I think you mentioned it earlier. Maybe it was before we hit record on the YouTube part, but it was Brock Purdy.
Dude,
I think it's got to be that. I mean, the Seahawks are on the downturn. They're 7-7.
Yeah,
now. They're ice cold. Geno Smith, not a pumpkin yet, but he's getting close.
Yeah.
He's better than a lot of quarterbacks in the league. But I mean, you look at the game. Brock Purdy, 17-26, 217, 2 touchdowns, no picks, and CMC. Looks like vintage CMC. And George Kittle was great. One of the reasons why I lost in fantasy football. Just saying.
Yeah. And my thing is too. You look at the teams he's played, and he really hasn't played a good defense. Yeah, I mean, you may look at the rankings for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Their defense isn't that good. Go look at the teams that they played, and they haven't played a offense worth a dang pretty much whole season. I mean, you're in the NFC South, so you automatically got 6 games with the Saints, the Panthers, and the Falcons. Then on top of that, you throw in some of these other teams that they've played, and you look at their quarterback play and their offense, and you're just like, yeah, your defense's numbers are way bloated, and your defense isn't that good. And Purdy destroyed them. I mean, he destroyed that defense. Yeah. So I'm still not completely sold.
Okay.
I'll tell you one thing is, and if listening, some of these people I talk with all the time, every day in these card chats and stuff like that. The Brock Purdy card market is absolutely insane right now.
Did you get any?
No, I ain't touching that. Dude, no. They are selling for thousands of dollars.
Wow.
For a guy that may not be the quarterback next year. I mean, you're the 49ers. Can you argue going, okay, well, we traded all these picks to move up to get Trey Lance. But we're going to draft this guy. We're going to play this guy we drafted last in the 2021 draft, and we're going to start him. Is there a realistic chance that happens?
It happened to Washington Commanders, okay? Remember when they said, Robert Griffin III. Yeah, we want that guy 3rd overall. You know what? Let's go ahead and take a 3rd-round draft pick as well with Kirk Cousins. And who stayed around longer?
Yeah. But the thing is that and it could happen. I mean, the injuries, that was the whole reason why Robert Griffin didn't stick around. And maybe that happens. But if you're John Lynch and that happens, you are on very shaky ground the rest of your career, unless Brock Purdy wins you a Super Bowl, because you can't trade, 3 first-round picks and a couple second-round picks to move up to draft your guy and then go.
We're gonna play.
Yeah. Well, he'll play what? 1 game?
Yeah.
Or he played a couple of games his rookie year, and then play 1 game his sophomore year, break his ankle, and then we're gonna go with Mr. Irrelevant for the here on out and just heck with Trey Lance. I don't see that there's any way that they could realistically flip that unless they go, man, this guy is the man. I mean, I've seen, people in the locker room say, this is our guy. So, I mean, what do you do then with Trey Lance?
Bro, Trey Lance has such a tough hill to climb. I don't even, for the record, I don't think he's an NFL quarterback. I mean,
no.
But, man, I don't know. And also the offenses right now, they're running smoothly.
Yeah.
With this setup that they have. And Brock Purdy's a lot closer to Jimmy G than he is to Trey Lance. Right? So, the offense will have to change. And so, will they be ready? Now, CMC is dynamic, and it doesn't matter what quarterback is with him. That's why he's so good. So, I mean, maybe it won't matter. Thankfully, we can just talk about it. We don't have to make the decisions on it.
No. Yeah, I mean, and the one thing is that you could say for Brock Purdy that I'm not saying he's a mix and he's, athletic like Trey Lance, but he is a better runner than Jimmy Garoppolo. So that brings a different aspect into it where he knows that he manages the game like Jimmy G does, passing, but he's also able to run and pick you up crucial first downs like that in the Seahawks game. So there's maybe I'm still not sold, and I'm sure the people are going to be like, oh, it's for sure he's the guy. And well, I need to see them play someone tough. And Cowboys don't have a great defense, but they got a good pass rush. Or the Eagles. Let me see you play the Eagles, and if you can hang or beat the Eagles, that defense, then you may have an argument. But I'm not sold yet.
Yeah, I'm not either. But maybe we'll get there. The next game we're going to jump into real quick. The Ravens are one of the top teams, right? They've been. Like this time last year, the same thing was happening, right? Injuries all over the place. It's still happening. The only difference is they actually won all the games on the front end, so they're still going to make the playoffs. I mean, they should.
Yeah.
So, absolutely no offense since the injury to Lamar Jackson. I do personally think that once he comes back, it should be okay. It's not going to be fixed, but it should be okay. So all I say is we can go ahead and write it down. There'll be a first round loss. All right.
Yeah. I mean, the great thing for them is that J.K. Dobbins has played good the last couple of weeks coming back from the injuries.
Strong.
And so that helps, going forward, especially once you get Lamar back. But that offense is abysmal without him. The last 4 games they've scored, I think it was 56 points, 57 points, something like that total. But 27 of those were in one game.
It's like the Broncos.
Yeah. In the other 3, you scored 29 points.
Mm-hmm.
So those 3 games, you're averaging 9 points a game. It's brutal. We had talked last year that we were like, oh, Tyler Huntley's not that bad of a quarterback.
Oh man, don't listen to that podcast, man. That was bad.
So I'm like, is Huntley, did he regress, or is the offense just not as good as it was last year?
I think it's better than it was when he had it last year. He at least has J.K. Dobbins this time.
Yeah,
and Gus Edwards.
Yeah, the only question is the weapons. I mean, Marquise Brown last year had a decent season.
And Andrews is absolutely injured right now. As soon as they get eliminated, he's like, all right, I'm going to have surgery or whatever it is that he has to.
Yeah, you can tell Andrews isn't healthy. So that takes your biggest offensive weapon that you're throwing the ball to. And so now you're throwing it to DeMarcus Robinson and Devin Duvernay.
Studs.
So that hurts. And the offensive line still, it's not solid. And so there is, some things, but man, Huntley hasn't looked great, and neither has that offense whatsoever.
Well, I mean, if you're a Browns fan, I mean, the 13-3 gross game and wasn't a lot going on, but they did win, and now they're 6-8. Dude. The Browns are 6-8. They have won 3 of 4. Now the talent, the teams they play,
the teams that they beat,
the quarterbacks, they lost to Joe Burrow. They beat Texans. They beat Tom Brady, who we'll get into that, and they obviously beat Tyler Huntley. So the finish the season, though. Oh, well, hold on. Here's the way their season. They could legitimately win 9 games this year. They play the Saints. They play the Commanders at Commanders. I will take that as probably a loss, and then Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. They're not playing anybody. They're not playing anybody, dude. They're gonna roll to at least 8 and 9. Oh, that's look ridiculous. At our trade now. This is genius.
And the fact is that Sean Watson has not looked good in any of those games that he's played.
He's at least progressed, though. I will say that. Like, he's not getting the ball downfield. There's a lot of timing, but at least his yards per attempt was terrible this last week.
The thing is that you look at the numbers and they don't look bad, but you watch the game and he doesn't look good is the problem.
There you go.
He's, missing low, missing high, and part of it could just be the fact that he is rusty. Mm-hmm. He hasn't really played for the last 2 years except for the last 3 weeks. So that could be a very big aspect to it. But like I said, you look at the numbers, you go, oh, he's played solid. He played good enough, hasn't played bad enough to lose you some games. But you watch the in-game throws and stuff, and you're just like, what is going on? And he looks slow. Running the football, he looks slow compared to what
game speed has got to speed up.
Yeah.
But if they get to 9 wins, that's going to be a bummer.
Yeah.
Now,
let's go when they're playing.
Yeah, I know. And right now, our boy Baker Mayfield, as we're recording this right now, it's down 10-3 already. He is 7 for 10 for 59 yards, so it's not great.
Their offensive line is atrocious.
Abysmal, yeah.
Those first 3 plays from the line, and you'll look at the first play, and Akers ended up with 12 yards, but that's because he sold the play action so well that the Packers guys ran right past Akers, and he took it for 12 yards. And then it's the next 2 or 3 plays, Kenny Clark was just living in the backfield. So, that offensive line is so bad.
Yeah. Well, hopefully he can stay healthy.
Yeah.
Please don't let us lose another quarterback. All right, so we've made it this far without talking about the biggest comeback in NFL history. You're right, I did not say the greatest comeback in NFL history. This is classic Jeff Saturday. I love the guy. I love Jeff Saturday. I loved him at the Colts. He was a great center. He has no business coaching the NFL yet.
Nope.
How much of the game did you watch? Did you watch any of it? It was a Saturday game.
I watched the whole game.
So, but were you invested at halftime, 33-0?
No, not at all.
When did you get invested in the game? Oh, at 33. Okay.
About midway through the third quarter when it started getting somewhat close, and you're like, okay, there's a realistic shot that the way the Colts offense is going and the way their defense is playing, there's a realistic chance that the Vikings could come back. And then I started watching, and then you just kept on scoring. I was just like, dude, this has to be the luckiest team in the NFL right now. I mean, some of their wins are just like, you're like, how did that actually happen? Did that really happen? And you come back from 33 down, and the defense and the offense for Jeff Saturday, the last 2 games in the fourth quarter, is wow.
Yeah, he just doesn't know how to win a game. And you think he would as a lineman. He'd be like, no, I know how to win a game.
Yeah,
I know exactly how to win the game.
Game management, coming down the stretch, and it just wasn't good. And I had some guy, he got so mad at me because I was like, the clock management and the game management down the stretch of the game was awful. Jeff Saturday, he coached awful that second half because they went away from everything that they were doing in the first half.
Everything they were doing right, yeah.
Yeah, and he was like, oh, well, he's a new coach. And I'm like, I'm not saying he's a bad coach. I'm just saying that he's not ready for this moment. And it's not taking anything away from Jeff Saturday. He is a great football mind. He is super smart with everything that he does. But he got the job because him and Jim Irsay are friends. The GM didn't want him. That's what I mean. The GM didn't want him. Irsay overrode him, so he ended up there. And it's taking nothing away from Jeff Saturday. You watch ESPN, and the guy is sharp. He knows what he's talking about, but he's just not ready for this because he's never coached before in his life, not even high school.
Nope.
And so you could tell the last few weeks that he's just not. He doesn't have that as a coach going, okay, this is what I got to do to win the game, and it's shown.
Yeah, it is brutal. Did you know Frank Wright was the quarterback?
Yeah.
In that game? Okay, I think most people have heard that stat by now, but I think that's great. And he's like, I got fired, so my record could be broken.
Broken by and it was my former team that gave up the man.
So I mean, this is the softest 11-3 team I think in the league.
Yeah,
one of the softest teams.
So they've gotten lucky. They have just got it's all it is. They have gotten super lucky. I mean, you look at the first stretch of the season, like the first 6 weeks, they played 3 backup quarterbacks, and there was a possibility they could have played a fourth if the Bills would have set Josh Allen after the elbow injury. And then you have the insane fumble on the goal line from Josh Allen. They recover it, score a touchdown. And then the incredible catch by Justin Jefferson and the craziness that happened in Buffalo. And now you have them coming back from 33 down to win a game a week after losing just getting manhandled by the Lions.
Yeah, there was absolutely no reason they should have won that game once they got that far down.
No.
And they should have done a pretty tough losing skid. They're now +2 in the point. I think this should be a running thing for us in the podcast. Every week, where the Vikings at? 11-3, and what's their plus minus right now on point differential? That's what I want to know. +2, 11-3. Got it. Okay. The Lions are 7-7 and +5. Okay.
Yeah. See that stat right there tells you everything you need to know. Is that they have gotten so lucky just through the season, and we've seen them play against good teams like the Cowboys and the Eagles and just get blown off the field. They played against the Lions, who have played really good lately, and just the score may have not been indicative of how they play, but the Lions controlled that game the whole time.
Well, I mean, you look at the Lions are really doing a good job of showing that the culture of the team really matters a lot. I mean, you could have all the talent in the world, Dallas Cowboys, and you can have or you can have great culture. I think it's almost 50-50. And sometimes, our team is focused 65% on talent and only 35% on culture. Yeah. Well, so your team, maybe if it's perfect 50-50, like we have the talent, we have the culture. So now we're going to be that team, right? That Chiefs, when they had that first year with Patrick Mahomes, they win the Super Bowl. Like that team had both. They clearly had talent, and they had a very winning, exciting culture. You look at some of the teams, the Bills last year, they had a lot of the talent, and they're working on the culture. This year, the Lions don't particularly have all the talent. I mean, no one was running over anybody else saying, I got to get me some Jared Goff this year.
Right?
I want me some Williams. What is his first name?
Jamal Williams.
I got to get me some Jamal Williams,
Right?
And we are leading the league I don't know if he's still leading the league in touchdowns, but
rushing touchdowns, yeah.
But clearly the coaching there has got them just going after a great culture. Like, why is this only pulling up the AFC?
Yeah, I mean, they have bought into the Dan Campbell culture, and I think because people are like, oh, they're going to go like 3 whatever this year, and Dan Campbell will get fired. I don't think there was any chance Campbell was getting fired because that team. You just look how hard that they play for that guy, and the crazy thing is, I started looking at the numbers, and I figured out like one of the biggest reasons why right now they are on a 6-1 run is Jared Goff. Guy has 1,700 yards, 11 touchdowns. How many turnovers does he have in those 7 games?
7 games? I'd say 2.
1.
Wow. Okay.
1 interception.
Low.
Yeah, 1 interception, and it was against the Packers, the first game of that 7-game stretch. So since that first game, he hasn't had a single turnover. And I think that speaks to a lot right there that we saw the bad Jared Goff the last couple years and him turning the ball over and making huge mistakes. But I'm not saying Jared Goff's a great quarterback or anything, but he has played so good the last half of the season and has put him in that position.
So what's the difference between Jared Goff for the Lions, what he's doing now, and Jimmy Garoppolo, what he does with the San Francisco 49ers every time he gets under center and is healthy? What's the difference?
Yeah, he just manages the game. I mean, he's starting to manage the game exactly like Jimmy Garoppolo.
I'm not where you heard it here first. We believe that Jared Goff is just as good as Jimmy Garoppolo.
I mean, look at the numbers. I mean, like I said, the guy has 1 turnover in the stretch of winning. And that speaks a lot. I didn't look at last year's numbers, but I imagine he had a hefty amount of turnovers. And the season before that, there's a reason he got traded from LA after signing the big contract, taking him to a Super Bowl with that defense and everything. And then a year or 2 later, removed, getting traded for Matthew Stafford. And there's like, oh, this contract's one of the worst contracts in the NFL. Isn't playing good. And you look at his numbers, and he is one of the main reasons. And the defense has played a lot better, but he is really the center point and that reason why they have played so well these last 7 games.
He had 10 turnovers last year, 13 the year before, 14 year before that, 16, 12. I mean, that goes back to his Rams days. So this year, only 7, like you said, and only 1 in the last 7 games. And that's when they've been winning. So that obviously has a huge part to it. It's the second best QBR he's had in his career since 2018. Yeah. That was his best year. And his yards per attempt, which I think is a key thing that a lot of people overlook, is the 3rd best in his career. So he's clearly on the right track. And he doesn't have all the weapons that you might expect. So
no. I mean, Swift has had a decent season, but nothing great what everyone expected from him this year. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown, he has played pretty great, this year. But other than that, I mean, he's been thrown to DJ Chark and Josh Reynolds, and I don't even know who their tight end is now after they traded Hawkins.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I will say that DeAndre Swift has had a garbage year compared to why I kept him in my keeper league. So, that's personal, but it's personal. Did you watch any of the Bills game?
I watched a good part of it, yeah.
How disappointed were you when there's no snow until the last 8 minutes?
I know they're talking it up the whole time. Oh, it's going to snow all day, and then my thing was that as a fan, you went to this game and you had to sit on a pile of snow.
It wasn't.
Sorry, guys. Be miserable.
I think they're used to it, man. This is part of Buffalo football.
At least Green Bay, they hire people to come in and clear the stadium before the game. That's what I figured you do. Hire some fans, and either you pay them to do it or you give them tickets to the game.
Oh, yeah. Just give them tickets to the game, for sure.
They cleared the steps to the seats, and that was it. All right, go sit on your mound of snow real quick. Yeah. Then it turned into a weapon.
It always does. It always does. Should anybody be worried about the Dolphins? So the Dolphins never win when it's below 40 on the road. They just don't.
Yeah.
But they should have won this game.
Yeah,
unhealthy Josh Allen.
Yeah, I was honestly, I was surprised how well Tua played in that game.
Mm-hmm.
I was expecting Tua, doesn't have the strongest arm, playing in the cold, tougher to throw the football. I was expecting him to have a not so great game, especially looking at the 2 games before that. I was like, man, this is gonna be rough. And he came in and actually played really well, and they ran the ball really good, which is something that I think teams have to look at the Bills right now and go, that's really their main weakness is they cannot stop the run. And I don't understand why teams aren't trying to run the ball as much. I mean, because Raheem Mostert just lit you up. Probably wouldn't be starting if Jeff Wilson wasn't out. So, yeah. I mean, I came away more happy with what the Dolphins than what the Bills did, because I was expecting it to be a bigger marginal win for the Bills, because I wasn't expecting Tua to have this, that big of numbers.
No, it was definitely good. Waddle had a good game. Tyreek Hill just 13 targets. Good Lord. Yeah. But they moved the ball. They ran the ball, like you said. This was so I would be less worried if I was a Dolphins fan. I mean, they're 8-6. This is a very, very streaky team, and they're gonna have to streak to the end of the finish line. Packers next week on Christmas Day. Not a Christmas Eve game. You guys get Christmas Day.
Christmas Day.
Yeah, sorry, man. I guess you can't watch the NBA next week. Oh, man.
Wouldn't have done it anyway.
Did you? So I'm curious. Did you ever because obviously Thanksgiving, that was the thing. We got Lions, we got whoever, we got Cowboys, whoever. And then Christmas Day, I remember towards college, I was like, yeah, absolutely. Let's go. NBA. I never realized it was always on because we were always doing stuff. But in college, I had more free time. And all of a sudden I got into it. Like, you remember the commercial with the Jingle Bells and the Nets and they had Steve Nash, Steph Curry before he was the thing and all this stuff?
Yeah.
That was great. The T-shirt jerseys, which were awful. That's when we should have known that the NBA was going downhill, was when they had the stupid T-shirt jerseys.
Brought in the T-shirt jerseys. One bad decision just made the whole NBA just go to crap.
Figured it out. Yeah, so that that's what I'm going to do for this week's video. Is going to say the W Podcast has figured out when the NBA went downhill. T-shirt jerseys. Listen to the podcast, you'll hear it. But do you know how many views we got on the video I created this week on YouTube?
I don't.
10% of what we did the week before. I put all that effort, the creativity, clipped all these videos together. 10%.
Hey, it's okay.
I feel bad.
I honestly, I don't know how. I don't understand the algorithms and stuff like that, because honestly, the one that I did on Instagram, it got 10% also.
How dumb is that?
Yeah, you go from the baseball one I made to the one, and I thought this one with the Patrick Mahomes one get more traction, because that play by Patrick Mahomes was pretty great, because it plays the clip, before and then has me talking afterwards. And I was like, this is cool. The Aaron Judge one is just a picture of Aaron Judge behind me talking. But somehow it gets 3,000 views and 200 and something likes, and this one gets 300 views and 25 likes.
I need you to know that's still more than the YouTube one. It's so bad. I was like, are you kidding me? All that effort? And it was fun, too, to get that voice of the announcer pitched up a little bit with his speed of the video. Yeah, it's all right. It's fine. I'm not sad about it.
It happened.
I already cried.
I already cried.
Yeah. So we were saying Green Bay Christmas Day. Oh, yeah. So did you ever watch them on Christmas?
Oh, yeah. I used to watch basketball all the time on Christmas.
Yeah.
We kind of had an argument one Christmas, because Kayla and them, they wanted to watch Christmas movie. I'm like, but it's Christmas Day. Basketball's on. We have to watch basketball. I don't care about the Christmas. I've watched the Christmas Story how many times? It's on 24 hours on Christmas. We can watch it after the basketball game, because I'm pretty sure it was the year after the Mavs won the championship, so they were playing on Christmas, and I'm like, I need to watch it. But I used to watch it.
Did you get to watch it?
Yeah, I watched
it. Yeah.
Because Dad was like, well, I want to watch basketball too.
Yeah, there you go. Nailed it.
Yeah.
Classic. Oh, man, that's awesome. Okay, so they have Packers on Christmas. The Dolphins do. And they got Patriots, who we'll get to them in a second, and the Jets. We don't know who their quarterback's going to be. I think this is a team that they should be able to write this 3 L's with maybe at least 2 wins, and so that gets you to 10-9. That should be enough. Is 10-9 enough?
Yeah, I mean the great thing for them is they lost, and their odds, the percentage wise, to get into the playoffs went up. So I mean that tells you right there, because a couple of the teams that you need to lose, and they lost, and one lost in the most embarrassing fashion I think I've ever seen in a football game.
Yeah, so the Patriots are one of those teams that lost. That was great. I have a buddy of mine that I work with right now, and he's a huge Tom Brady fan, and he loves the Patriots. And I don't remember what I did, but we were talking about something. I said, "Yeah," and it was like final execution or something like that, like final play. Yeah. And I just tapped him on the shoulder. I said, "Yeah, just like those Patriots, right?" He's like, "It's too soon, man." He said, "What were they thinking?" It's great.
And my thought was, after the game, I was like, "Well, there's no way that was a drawn-up play." They ran the ball, and maybe somehow he would break away or whatever. And then Ramondre made a decision. Oh, I'll pitch it. Well, then Jacoby Myers just throws it to no one in the middle of the field. Chandler Jones standing there, and the Mac Jones try to tackle, try to grab the ankle, kind of went, in the fetal position. And
come on, what would Tom do?
Right? I mean, Tom probably would have tried to body him up at least, but yeah, he goes in the fetal position. Chandler Jones runs over him, runs into the end zone. Then after the game, right before the Sunday night football game started, they showed the interview afterwards, or the press conference with Bill Belichick, and he goes, "Well, the play just didn't work the way we drew it up." And I was just like, "Wait a second. Wait, what? You really try to stand for Khaled when you're tied in the fourth quarter of a game? Well, all you have to do is go to overtime. You have a chance of winning still, but you pitch the ball back and forth and try to, lateral your way into a touchdown while you're tied in a football game. What do you think? Whose play call was this? Was this Patricia, or did Belichick come up with this? Because whoever it is, what are you doing?"
Someone needs to answer to it, and I don't know that they will give us a satisfactory answer, but we got a satisfactory result if you hate the Patriots.
Dude, when I saw it, I was like, what are you doing? I'm like yelling at TV. My mom comes out of the room, she's like, "Keep it down." And I was like, she's like, "What, do you not want the Raiders to win?" And I was like, "No, I'm trying to figure out what they're thinking. What are they doing?"
That's amazing. That is so good. Keep it down. No.
Yeah, it was.
Did you see this?
Yeah, I'm like, I'm dumbfounded looking at this, and even hours later, I texted him, I'm like, I'm still confused by what they're trying to do.
Yeah. So obviously they did win the game, and I don't know which team I'm more like. Which fan base should be happier they won? I think it should be the Raiders, because the Chargers squeaked by the Titans on the last second kick. So Cameron Dicker's the new Adam Vinatieri, is what it's apparent. That's what the Chiefs need. Does not miss. He's got ice in his veins. Dicker the kicker. Yeah. I don't like the guy, but he makes kicks, man. And the Chargers scored 10 points in the fourth quarter to win, and now they're 8-6. So same record as the Miami Dolphins, but they are higher in the standings. But I think the biggest thing, Justin Herbert has looked really rough. But which team would you rather be the fan base of right now, the Raiders or the Chargers?
I would say the Chargers, just because at least we have a chance at the playoffs.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I mean,
it's not the most exciting win, but hey, you did scratch out a win against a team that, is winning their division, but it is a, not so great division. But you're still winning your division, probably should be a playoff team. We'll see what happens down the stretch. But I don't know. I would say the Chargers, just based off that fact that, hey, at least our odds went from 51% into the playoffs up to 79%. So hey, that helps. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you think the Jaguars have a legitimate chance to sneak in and win the division? Because the Titans are reeling right now, lost 4 games in a row. They're minus 38 in the points and points given up column. I mean, you look at this team; they are reeling right now. Cannot score.
Yeah, and I think we may have seen the light bulb maybe click on for Trevor Lawrence over the last couple of weeks, especially this game against the Cowboys. I think we're finally seeing that Trevor Lawrence that deserved to be the number one pick in the draft.
I think we are. I 100% agree.
And I honestly, I would have to look at the schedule going forward. I know the Jaguars they played the Jets this week. I'm pretty sure. The rest of the schedule, I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, they got at Jets, at Houston versus Tennessee. So they're going to have if they win out, they will have a legit chance if Tennessee doesn't.
Yeah, division, man. We've already seen them handle the Titans once already.
Mm-hmm.
And, they handled the Titans in that game. Kept Derrick Henry in check for the most part. And so, yeah, I could realistically see them making a run. Etienne's playing good. Evan Ingram's playing real good. Zay Jones came out of nowhere, had 3 touchdown game.
I know.
And besides the one turnover from Lawrence, the man looked like a legit franchise quarterback, which something, most of the season we're just like, oh, you saw flashes here and there. And then they played a lot of really close games. And that's one thing that I heard the stat the other day that he's actually has the most one-loss games in his first 2 seasons, or in the last 2 seasons in any quarterback in the NFL right now. And so they've been in a lot of games, and now I think they're finally seeing him be able to finish the games and get there. But man, you're the Cowboys, and you just blew another.
How about them Cowboys?
You blew a 17-point lead with 5 minutes left in the third quarter.
Dude, that's the Cowboys. What else are you gonna do? Is that on Dak Prescott? Picks. Or is it on the receivers for bobbing the ball and can't catch the ball?
So that last one, that one, I think has to be on Noah Brown. It wasn't the best throw, but you had both hands on it. I think hit you in the numbers.
No, if it hits your hands, you should have caught it.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to be on what the defense is doing at the late game, parts of the game. You lost. You had a 24-point lead against the Packers, and you lose that game. And now you lose a 17-point lead to the Jaguars. Your defense, honestly, I'm not sold on the defense. The pass rush is good. Whenever you can rush the passer, but teams have figured, they're running the ball, and then now teams are figuring out, okay, they are so fast, and they're so aggressive that you run some reverses and here and there that you're going to catch them off guard because they're going to be running upfield so fast, try to get to the quarterback or try to hit the running back. They're not going to see that guy running around the edge that you just handed the ball to. And so teams are starting to figure that out. And Micah Parsons has had a great year. But I feel like teams have figured out somewhat of a way to negate him. And I've been saying it for the last how many weeks. Run the ball at the guy. And he has an argument for the Defensive Player of the Year, but I don't think that this last stretch of games have warranted him being the Defensive Player of the Year. I think Nick Bosa has – you look at the numbers. Nick Bosa has better numbers all, up
He's
and down.
He's been phenomenal.
Yeah.
As
and advertised. So the pass rush for the Cowboys is their main threat. But if you can run the ball against them, we've seen teams just run the ball down their throat. If the Bears had a better defense in that game, the Bears probably beat the Cowboys in that game. Because
so how are the Cowboys different than the Vikings?
They're not.
Oh,
they're just in a tougher division.
That's true. Yeah, they definitely are. Everyone's over 500 still.
They did blow out the Vikings, but I think part of that has to be due to the fact that the play calling was absolutely stupid. Whenever you had Dalvin Cook averaging 6 yards a carry and you ran the ball 10 times.
Yeah, I remember that. That was so dumb. And hey, that's the difference between a coach who's never coached, college anything, and one who's actually coached in the NFL for a little while. You should be able to call a better game to put a team away if they're making mistakes like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they are in a much tougher division. You have the Giants and the Commanders going against each other, and questionable referee play at the end. But you can't leave it up to the refs. That's all I'm saying. Just stop leaving it up to the refs. Refs are going to make mistakes. You have to even almost bank on it.
But man, so you just see the still picture of basically Curtis Samuel getting hugged.
Yeah.
But even before the whole route and everything, the man is getting mugged.
Yes.
So much that his arm sleeve almost comes completely off. And yet somehow no flag. And then the play before that, they throw the flag. So, did you see the Terry McLaurin thing?
Mm-hmm.
Did you see what happened? Okay, so they threw the flag because Terry McLaurin didn't line up on the line. We played, wide receiver in high school.
Yeah.
We know check with the ref.
Yeah, you just
he checks
point.
Checks it with the ref. The ref tells him to move up a little bit. He moves up a little bit, checks with the ref, and you can see the ref say something to him, and then immediately holds his hand on the flag and throws the flag as soon as he snaps the ball, illegal formation. The Redskins scored a touchdown on that play. And so afterwards, they asked Terry McLaurin, what happened? He said, he verbally told me I was good. I moved up when he told me to move up. I was on the line. I had been in that same spot the whole game. I checked with him. He said, okay, move up a little bit. I moved up a little bit. And then he verbally told me, you're good. And he's like, so I'm on the line. And immediately, as soon as that happens, you can see him mouth something to him, and he immediately grabs for that flag. And as soon as he snaps the ball, throws the flag. And McLaurin's like, dude, I asked you if I was good. You can tell I'm talking. He's like, you were on the line. And McLaurin's just like, during the press conference, he's like, I don't want to get fined, so I'm not going to say anything bad about it. But
the NFL,
he told me I was good.
It's a conspiracy. The NFL does not want the Commanders with all the stuff that's going on in the background with the Commanders in the playoffs. That's it. It's a conspiracy.
And I was kind of hoping that maybe we'd see another tie, and then we'd see the first. It would just listen. It would have been the first time ever in NFL history that a team had a season with two ties. But the crazy thing would have been is you have two ties for two teams against each other. How crazy would that have been? Yeah, like stat wise. That's the only reason why I wanted to see it, was just stat wise. And so maybe the NFL was like, we can't have this happen.
Yeah, I need you to throw a flag. A flag. Oh,
yeah, we can't have them.
On the Commanders. That'd be great.
We can't have them tied. Yeah. Just don't let them score. Whatever you got to do, refs.
Yeah. We got one more game to hit before we get to some baseball news, but the Bucks right now are 6-8. Joe Burrow, they win again. I'm telling you, the Bengals are really great at beating really bad teams and the Chiefs. But the Bucks finished the year. Name that quarterback they're playing at Arizona.
I'm guessing it depends. If Colt McCoy's healthy, it's Trace McSorley.
He's not going to be healthy, right? Okay. He's never healthy. Versus Carolina.
Sam Darnold,
okay.
I would imagine.
At Atlanta.
Depends on if they stick with Ritter or if they go back to Mariota if he's healthy. I would probably say Ritter.
It'll probably be Ritter at this point. But
they're
going to go 9-8. As bad as this team is, they're going to go 9-8. We're not going to get what we want. A 6 or a 7-10 team winning a division.
I mean, we did. They have lost to the Panthers already once.
Yeah, but twice. I mean,
you never know. I mean, and they lost to the Panthers with PJ Walker as the quarterback. I'm not saying Sam Darnold's great or anything, but I think Sam Darnold's maybe just a tick higher than PJ Walker. But I mean, I wouldn't count on this Bucs team winning ever this week. When the week comes up, I don't care who they're playing. I'm not going to put money on them winning because they have looked so bad.
Yeah, they have looked really bad.
Tom Brady been in the middle of it the whole time. Last two games, 6 turnovers.
He's screaming at people, saying we're better than it. Like, dude, you're done.
Your play has not lived up to it. Yeah. You can't blame this on other people. Your play is the reason why you have lost these last 2 games by just getting blown out. And one of them was to Brock Purdy. I mean, you got smoked by Brock Purdy. Mr. Irrelevant just wiped the floor with the greatest quarterback.
Mr. Irrelevant, right?
Yeah.
He's going to have that whole Tom Brady chip on his shoulder his whole career. Yeah. Everyone overlooked Brock Purdy. Here we go.
Yeah. Everyone talked about Tom Brady being picked 199. Heck with that. I was Mr. Irrelevant.
What was it, 256? What is the last?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
it depends.
Man.
It kind of varies each year with compensatory picks. So it was something like that. 256, 257.
I would love that. ESPN 30-30. You've heard of Tom Brady before? I guess. How about Purdy, man? That's what we need. Yeah. Man. So I mean, Bengals. I think the Bengals are a legit threat because we've seen them beat the Colts. Because we've seen them beat the Chiefs. We know that they are legit, and Josh Allen's still hurt. So again, I think they can beat them. And if if Miami has to travel up to Cincinnati in January, I think they have the upper hand. And that home crowd loves it. There's a lot of momentum. There's a lot of good culture there. There it is. And a lot of stinking talent there. They just have to not turn the ball over and keep Joe Burrow healthy. And I think they'll be in a position to make a deep run in the playoffs, as much as I hate that.
Yeah, very well. And I guarantee you the Chiefs are hoping someone knocks them off before they get a chance.
Yeah, I desperately wanted the Chiefs to get to the number 1 seed again this week. So I'm like, that bye means everything. And then I'm like, ooh, that means you could end up playing both the Bills and the Bengals. No, let one of them get them out.
Yeah, let them play each other.
Yeah, give me the Dolphins in January. That'd be great. Thanks. Yeah, Dolphins can swim in the ice. That's fine. That's what I would be like. Can it? Okay, fine. Yeah, Tyreek Hill against the Chiefs in KC. Oh man, that could be fun.
No, dude, that could be really fun.
I don't even know if that's a legitimate possibility. I haven't even checked.
Honestly, I haven't even really looked at where possible seedings are going to be. It'll get clearer towards the
there's still 3 weeks left.
A couple weeks because those wild card teams, they're so close that they can flip flop real easy.
Yeah, for sure. Especially a lot of them are going to be playing. A lot of them are interdivision teams, and they're going to play each other the last 3 weeks, and so we're going to see that. So, wow, there's a lot of football news, a lot of information, and we're going to, like I said, if you caught us on the YouTube channel already, you know that we're going to do that. The college football will show back up next week with the college football only special as we look at, yes, you guessed it, the college football playoff. Maybe we'll throw in some of those New Year's Eve 6 games because we got to talk about USC Tulane. No, I'm kidding. I just can't wait to see what that game looks like, man. Tulane with their second ever big bowl or whatever. They played each other before. Did you know that? Like back in the 30s or something? Blue Bloods.
Let's go Green Wave.
I guess it's maybe Green Bloods at this point because of the Green Wave. That's what I want to go with.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll transition a little bit here before we wrap up for the pod for the day. So Devin can get back to his Packers. I mean, they're winning at halftime, 10-6. Let's go. Hopefully that doesn't age poorly.
Yeah, hopefully not.
But we got some big signings this week in baseball. So last week we recorded, we had a couple of the other ones to go over. The more of these big signings I've seen, the more I'm impressed with the Cardinals getting Wilson Contreras for just 5 years and literally $85 million with the possibility of 100 overall, but literally under 6 figures. Under 100 million. How about that? 6 figures? That's 100,000.
Oh no, 8 figures.
Whatever figures.
9 figures. How many figures?
You get it, right? Yeah. 9 figures. They got him under that officially. So that's nice. Carlos Correa, 13 for $350. Which number are you more surprised by?
I'm surprised by the amount. I thought the AAP would be a lot higher. I thought, the average was going to be higher because that's what everyone was saying going into the free agency, that Correa was going to get the most money out of all the, average wise. He was going to be, in the 30s somewhere. It's 23, which shocked me.
Mm-hmm.
When I did the math, I was like, man, I'm surprised that he took that low of a deal. And so makes the Trey Turner deal look even, I would say better if I'm the Phillies going, man, we thought this was, a decent offer and, it could have been a little low because we even thought that, the number was a little low for the Trey Turner deal, being somewhere around the 28, 27, per. So we thought, that's kind of, a little low, but, who cares? They got their guy. I was surprised how little he took, but man, 13 years. What's with these years free agency that teams are signing these guys up until they're 40 some years old?
Or I don't know. I think maybe it's the fact like, utility players. We're more used to seeing that. DH in the NL helps with that too. But at the same time, I don't know. There's more Miguel Cabreras on their contract, $32 million next year. I don't know if you knew that. He's going to make $32 million next year. There's more of those out there on these big, massive deals than there are the people who ended like Albert Pujols did. And by the way, guys, he was awful until he went to the Dodgers for like 4 straight years. He just was not good. Into that contract, they're like, man, how are we going to get out of this money? We can't. No one's taking this contract in a trade. And you can't cut the guy. I mean, the dude's hitting milestones. Thankfully, he went to the Cardinals, and that was a lot of rejuvenation and historic last season. But that's not the same. That's not the same contract. That was I think a $5 million contract when you Hey, and I'm literally doing this to go on a victory lap. That'd be great. So I don't know. You're gonna have to. So this actually happened, especially with pitching. I don't know if you have looked into this. I did read some stuff on it. There was a period, I think it was early 2000s, late 90s, where the first ever $100 million pitching contract happened, and then another, and then another, and another every offseason, and then busts. And so then there was like 3 straight years where nothing, or 6 years. And then it slowly trickled up, and now here we are with Max Scherzers and Justin Verlanders and all these dudes going wild. So it'll be a while before it corrects itself. But right now, until there's, a hard cap, I don't think it matters.
No,
money's money.
Yeah, look what the Mets done. We kind of hit on this last week, but their tax penalties are more than possibly 10 to 12 other teams in the major leagues.
Yeah,
that's how they don't care. Cohen's like, I'll spend the money. I've got the money. I don't care about the tax penalties or anything. Yeah, and so they're going to spend it. And we talked about the Nimmo trade the signing not being great and all that stuff. But I don't know. It's crazy. All these big name guys are getting these big 10, 11, 12, 13-year deals. I'm just like, how well is that going to age? There's a few of them where it probably will, like an Aaron Judge more than likely, because he's got the power, and the power will wane a little bit, but he's still going to have that to rely on, where he still could probably hit 20, 25 home runs when he's, towards the end of his career, compared to a guy like Carlos Correa, who's had injury history after, injury season after injury season, and averages like 25, 24 home runs a season. What's going to happen when he hits 40? He's going to hit maybe 5 home runs, bat like 180 something, and strike out 150 sometimes.
Here's what it'll be. If they're lucky, he'll be Evan Longoria.
Yeah, and that.
I really hope my team isn't trying to sign that dude. And there are teams out there trying to sign him. But what I told you, for 70% or 60% of his value, you could have gotten Dansby Swanson for half the years on contract.
Yeah,
Why not?
Locked it up in a heartbeat. Yeah, I loved the contract that Swanson got. It was higher than they expected and all that. The Cubs. I get you're trying to do something. You have been bad the last 3 seasons or so, but why? Why are you spending this this amount of money on someone when you ain't going to compete? That one guy, James Swanson, as good as he is, he isn't going to move the needle that much for you.
This sounds like one of 2 things. One is just the Cubs doing what the Cubs do, and I am a Cardinals fan, so I freaking hate the Cubs. I do not like the Cubs at all, and I love the fact that they're terrible, and I love that we got their catcher. Just take that. But I think a lot of this has to do with, man, you're a Dodgers fan. The Dodgers, the Yankees, the Cardinals. Who are some of these other teams? Maybe the Giants could technically be one of these teams. There are only a handful of teams who have played baseball the right way. Boston has done this occasionally. Boston has had a lot more fluctuation, even though they tried to do it the same way. But that's Boston.
Yeah, no.
But they try to build this culture that we don't go out and do what San Diego does, or the Mets. I don't need to do that. I've developed this, and I'll trade occasionally, and I'll make a signer or 2, like Matt Holliday, stuff like that. But I'm building something, and it's going to be a long one. But because it takes a while to build, and we're doing it right, it's going to last. Instead of, no, dude, you need a house. I'll do some quick framework, and 100 years is gone. Right. And so you look at these teams, like that's what this is. This is the Cubs doing. The Cubs are an old franchise. They've won before. There's a lot of gaps between because they just don't do it right.
Yeah. The funny thing too is, like, going into it, the new owners for the Cubs told the GM, hey, go over the luxury tax or whatever. We don't care. Go out there and just build us a team. And you come away with really one guy.
Dansby.
And Cody Bellinger. Like $15 million for 1 year. So
whatever. Here's the thing about Cody Bellinger, people. I don't know if you've looked at his numbers, but he was going crazy in 2019 when guess what else was going crazy? The baseball. So saying, everyone's numbers in 2019 looked incredible. That was the last time he was good.
That'll be something we can get into in a couple podcasts later once we
previews,
start. Yeah, about the whole baseball situation that happened this year. I sent you the article. It was probably about a couple weeks ago, and I started reading it, and I was just like, "Wow, this is kind of wild."
I know.
Yeah,
I'm not surprised at all.
So, but like as a Dodgers fan, I am so happy we did not sign Carlos Correa. And
you're gonna laugh at him, and when he's 38.
Shoot, even if he tears it, I just did not want that guy on the team.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
Like, did you see what they said when there was all the rumors popping around like, oh yeah, there's a chance that the Dodgers are in on Correa. Well, then Friedman then came out and they're like, yeah, we're not going to pursue him because we've heard a lot of what the fans have said that they wouldn't welcome him as a Dodger. And so it's like,
way to go, fans.
It worked. Yes.
That's good.
Yeah. The one time as a GM or a higher executive listens to the fan that don't go after the guy. And so I was like, yeah, I'm good with it.
Could you imagine being the GM like, yeah, man, we signed him, it's great.
Yeah.
It's opening day and now starting College Credit, and the fans go, boo.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my, he's on our team. And they're like,
yeah, you're at home. Yeah.
Just wailed.
Oh, and as a Dodgers fan, that would have happened. Yeah. That they ain't gonna cheer for that guy. That guy stole a World Series from us.
Yeah. Well, the good news is y'all have made a huge splash. If it was 2019 with JD Martinez,
hey, so
I would be happy with him.
I like the signing. The only downfall to it was that I was sad that we don't have Justin Turner anymore. I mean, that guy.
How different is he than Justin Turner at this point?
Not a whole lot. I think
their floors are almost the same.
I think the one thing is that the possibility is we've seen Justin Turner the last few years really deal with a lot of like hamstring injuries. Lower ligament injuries. So I think that was probably the deciding factor. And then on top of that, Turner wanted a 2-year deal. Dodgers like 1 year. That's what we're offering. And so they gave, basically the exact contract that Turner got, just an extra year, a year less. And so I was okay. I really liked the signing. He gives us another right hand.
Deserve to be tenured.
Gives us a right hand bat that we don't, that we kind of needed, and that we lacked losing Turner or both Turners.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like that one. I thought it was a solid DH signing, and maybe it now opens the door for us to see what these younger guys can do, like a Vargas or a Bush or James Outman, depending, because the Dodgers are, I guess they're in the center field market right now, and there's 4 names that got tossed around, and it was Ryan Reynolds, but I heard the trade package for him is absolutely insane, because they're asking basically what the Nationals got for Soto, and I'm like,
no,
what? You ain't getting that. And then Jared Kelenic, which he could be a decent, he's got a lot of upside. He's struggled a little bit when he's coming to the majors. Maybe the Dodgers are able to turn him around or something. Alex Thomas, which I don't think he'll get traded to the Dodgers because he's a Diamondback. The Diamondbacks aren't going to trade, a decent prospect. He came up last year and had a pretty solid season for the Diamondbacks. They ain't going to trade him to a division rival and have to face him every year. And then Dylan Carlson, and I don't think there's any way the Cardinals are trading him, because I think that was one of
Bader.
Yeah, that was one of the things that they talked about when it was in the Soto deal, that they didn't really want to give up Carlson. So why are you going to trade Carlson to the Dodgers for probably less than what you're going to get for? Yeah, so I don't know. I think maybe Kelenic will probably be the one that probably may happen. No,
no,
good
defense.
Oh yeah, he's a great defense.
But dude, this is a gap here for the Dodgers. Come on now, this is a gap here.
So what would have been the difference between Taylor and Bellinger? Nothing.
Okay, that's fine.
And so I think they're trying to find someone that is at least that middle. You can have good offense numbers and still play really good defense. So we'll see if they figure something out. I like James Outman. What he did when he came up, he played good, and sparingly he played, part this year. And I really like Miguel Vargas. I think Vargas can be a really good ball player. He won AAA Player of the Year this year.
Yeah,
30-some home runs, 100 and some RBIs, batted .321. So I think there's a chance he could really come up and maybe start at third base and do something for the Dodgers.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
We got one last signing to talk about, and it's Carlos Rodon, and I am not a huge fan of this signing. I don't think Ace. I know in the last 2 years he's been pretty good with some injuries. He's not a high strikeout guy. He really does not
Yeah.
strike out guys at a high clip. Wait, am I looking at this number right? No, he does strike out guys
he
at a high
strikes
clip.
out a lot. Yeah.
That's what's helped his ERA stay low. And I just worry, though, like in that small ballpark, what is it going to look like? We'll have to see. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being biased toward it. I just wasn't high on it.
I wasn't like, I think I was just more indifferent. I think it helps the Yankees because there is still a glaring need in that rotation. Montez came over and looked awful. And you still don't know if Severino is ever going to be right and be able to pitch a full, year. And other than that, I mean, we've seen Cortez have a really good year.
Yeah, one.
And so maybe
you're right.
Yeah, so there's a space between there, and can Cortez keep that up? Maybe teams have figured out his quirky, weird Johnny Cueto type, pitches that he'll throw in there every once in a while, because I mean he looks like a great pitcher and all, but other than that, you've got Garrett Cole. So I don't feel like it was like, oh, you super overpaid the guy, but I could also see him falling flat on his face because, I mean, you said it's small ballpark. You throw the ball hard, it's a lot easier to hit a home run on a fastball than it is breaking ball because pitchers supplying most of the power to it.
Yeah, most of what's needed is speed.
So yeah, and so there could be problems there, but I mean, it wasn't a horrible signing. There was another Dodger signing. We did sign Noah Syndergaard, which I'm not like saying he's going to be superstar or anything, but it's the Mark Pryor factor that I think that there's a chance that he could turn him around just a little bit. Because look what he did with Tyler Anderson. Came out and had his best season of his career, 3 ERA, and then turn around and gets a pretty decent contract from the Angels. Look what he did with Gonsolin and guys before that. So maybe he's able to get him somewhat closer back to the Noah Syndergaard in his early. I don't think it's going to be anything crazy going, oh man, he's Cy Young candidate, all that. But I think he can work his magic, and that's exactly why Noah Syndergaard said he went there. He said everything they touch turns to gold.
Yeah.
And I think it was a great reclamation pitcher for the Dodgers.
I think so.
And so, I mean, what was it, $11-12 million for 1 year? Why not?
He went to the right Los Angeles team this time.
Yeah, he found the right one. He didn't get off of the wrong exit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that is the podcast for this week, man. Next week again, we're gonna have some college football, so I hope you're ready for that. I hope you're anticipating Michigan versus TCU, and the big one I think most people are talking about and can't wait for is Ohio State versus Georgia. So we're gonna be talking about that on the 28th, and so be sure to follow it on YouTube. You'll be able to join the chat and make your predictions. It'll be a ton of fun. I cannot wait.
I'm so ready. You guys know that we like the NFL, and we'll talk the NFL during the NFL season a lot. And comes baseball, we love baseball. But I don't know about you. My heart is with college football. I love college football. So
my heart's
it's going to be. Say, I know that. Yeah, I mean, you're a big baseball guy, and I love baseball too. I think college football and baseball are right there. But college football, it really gets me. And then we'll have recruiting to talk about too. Plus, on top of the football games, I'm excited.
That's going to be good. It's going to be good. And you know what? Till then, y'all watch all the football you can. Basketball, if it's on Christmas, if that's your thing, I guess. I don't know. We're going to talk about we're not going to talk about basketball.
Yeah. Yeah.
My fantasy basketball team won this week, and I was like, if I lost, because I was checking to see if I won, I was like, if I lost, I'm going to go ahead and just ghost the team. And then I won, and I was like, Dad, I don't care. Dame's
now I have to pay attention.
I don't care. Lillard's out. Okay. So, anyways, that is the podcast, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you subscribe if you don't already. Do that. Leave us a review, and if you could, go to YouTube. Watch the video, comment, spread the news with someone. You know what? One last thing. Merry Christmas, everybody. Hope you enjoy the holiday.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Yeah. Enjoy Christmas. The time with your family. One of the one times of the year that you can just get around with your family. So enjoy that, soak it in, because you never know what next year can bring. So make sure you just cherish that time. So yeah, go have a great Merry Christmas, and we'll see you next week.
Well said. See ya. Nice. All right, we're going to go ahead. I think I can hit in broadcast, and that just